how have you managed to stay acting for so long?
That's a tough question because you're not really in control of the opportunities that people see fit to call you in for. Do you know what I mean? You're not in control of that. So, um, and also it took me a while to, in talking to younger actors, it's taken me a while to realize that not everybody wants the same career. Do you know what I mean? There are a lot of people who just want to get up there and make some money, and you talk to them for a little bit and you realize they want to be as famous as possible and get to as powerful a position as possible. So they're happy playing one aspect of themselves. They're not interested in jumping from musicals to Shakespeare to modern plays to American accents, British accents to whatever, to crossing and playing lots of different types of people. So there are lots of different ways to sustain a career. My way personally has been to try and be as versatile as I can, to try and make sure that the people I play are not really like myself all the time, to make sure that there's always something interesting about them. There's a third dimension to them, that they're never people who you could say their character is purely based on one aspect of who they are, but on a humanity that is deeper than that. So that's what I've tried to do. It hasn't always worked, but it's paid its dividends. And I've always found that once you've done a light-hearted BBC drama, the next thing you get offered is a light-hearted BBC drama, and people go, "Hey, do you want to do light-hearted?" And you have to be able to say no. I'll be unemployed for a bit and wait till something else comes on. Then you might pick a musical. And then people go, "Hey, do you want to carry on doing a musical? Got another musical for you." And then I have to say no, because there's actually a Shakespeare play or something that I want to do, a world tour of something. And just keep being diverse, just keep being diversifying with what I want to do, work on my weaknesses. And hopefully, in that time, the strengths have taken care of themselves.
Hi.
Hello.
So I'm currently studying at East 15, and I know that, Adrian, you went to drama school. I just wanted to know, with everything going on with drama schools currently in the current climate, do you feel that when you went to drama school, I know it was a different time, but did they equip you with what you needed to be a multifaceted Black actor like your white counterparts, or did you have to do extra work on top of everyone else?
They equipped me with everything I needed to be an actor. At that time, I didn't concentrate on one particular aspect of my culture in order to be an actor. I just concentrated on being an actor. People would often ask me things like, "Oh, what does it feel like playing Mickey Bricks?" Is a character I played, playing Mickey Bricks, as a Black actor. And I just went, "You perceive color. You go ahead and do what you need to perceive color when you watch me. I'm going to play Mickey. I'm going to play the Mickey that I know is there. But what I'm not going to do is direct myself to an aspect of my humanity simply because I guess that's what you will want to see, that's what you expect to see, or that's what you need to qualify me in the industry. I'm going to play who this guy is. If at any time the story crosses any cultural lines, then of course that's going to be loud and proud and part of my aspect. But if I'm playing an alcoholic, he's an alcoholic. He's not a Black alcoholic, he's an alcoholic. If I'm playing someone who's going through a divorce and I have to come up with all those emotions of what that feels like to go through a divorce, then forgive me, but I don't care what you see when you see the color of my skin. This guy is going through a divorce. He's going to play all those aspects. I'm not going to justify my presence on camera or at a drama school or on stage simply because you think it's better. And when I say you, I'm talking to, ignorant white person in the audience. I'm not going to justify that. I'm just going to play the person. So in training, I didn't concentrate on any particular aspect of culture in order to do the plays. There were some plays, like I did Edward Bond's Saved, which was in the 60s. And the character I played, I think, was worked on the buses. And it wasn't of particular cultural relevance in the play, but I chose in that production, because it was most honest to me, I did what I knew from my family. So the voice that came out of my mouth was my dad's voice. And the character that I played in that particular scenario was more like my dad. So culturally, I suppose I made that more specific because it was more true. But other than that, I haven't really done that.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Hello.
So my question is, well, I actually saw your Hamlet monologue on YouTube and it was really good. And I wanted to know, do you have any tips on performing Shakespeare?
Tips on performing Shakespeare. I think just make it make sense to you, really. It's weird, whenever I came to tackle a part, I always had these I'm going to be honest with you for a second. When I did Henry V at the National, which was the first production that Nicholas Heitner did there as the artistic director, I got a little bit of hate mail.
Wow.
And it was racially motivated. And what I could see underneath that was that I'd crossed a line that for that person took from them a little bit of power. The idea they had about Shakespeare, the idea they had about Henry V, the idea they had about who should be playing the lead of that role at the National Theatre was not fulfilled when someone like me stepped on the stage. In fact, I challenged that power and I challenged their idea of what it should be. But I didn't play to that. There's a part of you that thinks, some people that thinks that when you do something like Shakespeare, that it's not yours and that you have to step through a certain steps of excuses to make it yours, to in a way be allowed to play it freely. And I've never adhered to that. As long as it makes sense to me in my mouth, then I'll go for it. And so with Shakespeare, I never ignored the fact that there are two keys. One, that he uses words that we no longer use anymore. They're words that are archaic and old and so on. And we can't pretend that they're not there. We have to sort of get a dictionary, a glossary, and look through them and check what those words mean and find out what they mean. And the other one is that they're written in a structure that is a very old structure, that is the iambic pentameter, which is how people spoke at the time. And as he cut words and pushed them together to fit the structure, you get layers of meaning pushed down on top of each other. So one line can mean 4 or 5 different things. And so I had to explore that. And the last thing with Shakespeare, because it can sound so heavy in your mouth, is that it's never about yourself. It's always about changing someone else. Even if it's God or the universe or the world, or it's the middle of a soliloquy or whatever, you're speaking to make sure that something else changes. Something is very different at the end of the speech than it was at the beginning, because you've spoken to make sure that you've changed that thing. So the words become practical. All this stuff about the beautiful sound and the round vowel and the iambic and the rhyming couplet at the end, and it doesn't matter. Person is on stage speaking because they have to, because something is really important and they have to change something else that's outside of themselves. And that's why they open their mouth. That's why every character opens their mouth. So that's what I kind of concentrated on. And it helped me get away from the kind of fusty dustiness of Shakespeare, or the belief that somehow I would need to ask permission to do it culturally. Sod that.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks
Hello,
for doing this. I'm really, really excited just to hear, everything you have to say, and we appreciate it. My question is in relation to directing and writing. I'm an actor and I love to write, and I'm hoping to direct a short. I want to know, from your experience, obviously you've had a successful career as an actor, what are the main differences when you're acting versus directing? Do you have to kind of really switch your mindset, or do you kind of feel they kind of blur into one? And what tips can you give for someone looking to do that?
When you, if you have investigated sort of these directing books, these books on directing, how to be a great director. So I read Sidney Lumet. I read a bit of Mackenzie, what's his name? An old 50s director, Mackenzie. read a bit of Michael Ravager's book on the film directing and aesthetics. That's a really good one. But what a lot of them spend a lot of time doing is trying to get the director to understand the process that the actor is going through.
Okay.
Okay, so they spend a lot of time trying to get you to understand that. Get you to understand how the actor feels on set, what the actor is worried about, how to free up your actors, how to connect with what they're trying to do with the character. You know, they're trying to get the director to understand all of these things. Now, if you already all understand all of these things, all you have to do technically is what angle, what lens, where to encourage the actor, how to encourage them. You will automatically understand what they're going through, what the story needs, at which point. And so a story becomes like a piece of classical music. And if you need, here's a classic bit of directing that a director gave an actress on film. When you pick up the phone, if you have to hear bad news, sad news, then be happy when you pick up the phone. And if when you pick up the phone, you have to hear really, really, really good news, then be sad when you pick up the phone. That's basic, but that tells you how people structure their films, because an audience always needs to be surprised. And they need to be given the information in a way that they think they're the only one who understood it.
I see.
So you have to show them just enough and then move on. Otherwise, they sit there going, they're ahead of you. And if the audience gets ahead of you, then it's boring. But you already understand a hell of a lot because you understand what it's like to be an actor in that space. If the acting is great and the script is great, you can have terrible lighting, you can have terrible angles, you can have shaky camera, and the film will be a massive hit.
Okay, got it.
If you have perfect angles, perfect lighting, perfect musical score, and oh my God, that explosion was amazing, but the story and the acting is rubbish, no one's going to watch it.
I see.
So it all comes from what you already understand to be true.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add on, like, in your experience, do you want to go into directing more? Like, or do you feel like acting is, you know, your key lane, or you want to hop into both more?
I want to do some more directing, yeah. It's nice to be in control of the stories that you're part of or that you tell, because in this industry, you have to promote yourself. And the only way you promote yourself is by saying no to the work that you're being offered that you think is, you know, you've passed already. And that's the only way you get to do it.
Yeah.
Because if say you, Marie, do a performance and everyone thinks it's brilliant and it's a certain type of character, I tell you that every director in theatre in Britain will want to employ you to play that character again and again and again and again, because they're just trying to manage their fear. They want their product to be good. They don't trust many actors. They don't trust their imagination. They don't trust their skill. They don't trust their ability to change themselves. They will employ you to do the same thing again and again and again and again if they think that is all you can do. So it's up to you to promote yourself. It's up to you to say, I will do this and I will do this other thing, or I will play that part, or I'll play that role, or I will be a director. And the only way you do that is by saying no to the jobs you get offered, because that's the only power you have, and by saying no to the thing that scares you. And then the rest is, it's an open path.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Hi, yeah, thank you for doing this. My question is linked to what Marie just asked. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you in terms of yourself, like how have you managed to like maintain your integrity as an actor, and like navigating, like saying no, because I'm sure at the start of your career, like that feels like something that's so like insurmountable. And I think for me, I'm going into my third year at drama school next year, and I don't want to be in a position where I feel obliged to do anything, but there are times that will happen. So how do you navigate that for yourself?
reading a section of, do you all know who Sidney Poitier is?
Yeah.
Okay, because, sorry, but I had to ask, because some people go, who? Sidney Poitier, in between doing some of the biggest box office films that he did at the time, he was washing dishes in a restaurant. He would rather have done that than take bad work that would ruin his credibility. So principles cost money. Any principle costs you money. If you indulge that principle, you're going to lose out on something. And you will at some point stand by and watch someone with no principles make a lot of money. But if you want to maintain your integrity, then you've got to be able to at some point say no thank you, and go and do something else, or just sit quiet for a bit and work on yourself. But there's a feeling that sits in the back of our minds for those of us of color, which at the moment, this thing that sits in the back of our minds in this industry, which we are, those of us of the generation before you, are trying to change actively by going to 10 Downing Street, by signing petitions, by talking to Ofcom, by doing all of these things so that the path is easier for you guys. But that thing that sits in the back of our head that in some way makes you feel like if you do a certain type of work or you walk into a certain building, that it's not particularly for you. And with recent events, that thing, that noise, that sound has been amplified incredibly. And sometimes it's amplified to such a loud extent that it takes over how you see the world. It takes over how you feel your future might be. It clouds everything. And it's present and it's real. But every step you take in the future is based not on the noise that comes from it. It's based on how focused you are through that noise. Because regardless of what is happening now, and it's a funny thing to say regardless of it, but regardless, you guys are going to have a career when you're 40, when you're 45, when you're 50. It's up to you to see what that career looks like. I was all worried about what I was going to be like when I was, going to make it as an actor and pay my bills. And then I had kids, and then they went to school. And when I was walking up the hill and they were 7 years old, I started thinking, I'm doing more than just taking care of a career here. It's almost like feeling like you're changing an aspect, a tiny, tiny aspect of how the world sees itself. So your integrity and your intelligence and your approach to your work, they're all one and the same thing. If a piece of work isn't worth your intelligence and isn't worth the 3 years of drama school that you worked hard to get through, and isn't worth the work that you do, Marie, as a director, to learn what you're going to learn, then don't do it. Only do the pieces of work that will make you better as an artist, because that's all you owe yourself. I don't owe myself. I don't have to wear on my shoulders the explanation for someone else to allow me into a building. That's their problem. I don't wear on my shoulders the explanation for somebody else to think, oh, maybe we should cast him. That's their problem. All I owe myself, and I hope I do it to the best of my ability, that's all I can do, is all I owe myself is the understanding that when I do a job, I do it to a certain standard. And if people out there recognize that standard, then all well and good, you'll want to employ me. If you don't, then that's fine, I'll go somewhere else. But your integrity isn't about convincing other people. Your integrity is just about how you approach your work yourself. And if you look at the script and you can see it's rubbish, don't do it. Unless you need to work with that director, or unless it gets you into that particular, unless Paramount would love to have you and you think, actually, this gets me in the door here, or that. You be a businessman, but never, never, never underestimate yourself. and let your integrity be your approach. No nonsense, hardworking, never late, don't take no for an answer. That's your approach. I'm going to stop there because I'm talking too much. Anyway, that's what your integrity should be. Never be afraid of saying no. I've said no so many times, I really think that people started to think, yeah, that Adrian, yeah, he's good, but you know what? He thinks he's a bit, because I've said no to people. People have called me back and gone, you said what? And I've gone, well, it was boring. Do you know who this person is? Yeah, I don't care. It's the job. That was difficult. I did a film called Primary Colors in 1997, and I played the lead. And it was John Travolta and Emma Thompson and Mike Nichols directing, and it was for Universal Films and so on. And I have to tell myself, even now to this day, I have to tell myself it was a different world. Because after that film for Universal, when it came out, I met a lot of people. And I remember them, these producers, these casting directors, these directors, they sat and they looked at me. And I could see them going, you know, even when I spoke with my British accent, because I played American in the film, they were like that. Wow, and this was 1998. They didn't know what to do with me. And I could see that. They would look at me and think, and it isn't like it is now, by no means. It isn't like it is now. And they looked at me and were kind of thinking, it's a weird accent, but he's British, but he's black, but he plays American, but I mean, he changed his voice. And they just and I remember one person saying, when we have a character that is like the character you just played, when we have another character like that, then of course we'll call you, because, you know, we think what you did with that was great. And I always thought to myself, can you not see that I've just changed my accent and my mannerisms and all that? And you can still sit in front of me and say, well, when we have another character like the one you did, we'll call you. I thought, I want to do anything. I was frustrated. I came back to Britain and I was unemployed for a year. And I lived off my savings. And then Lenny James, who has just done a series for Channel 4 called Save Me. He wrote a film called Storm Damage. And so me, Lenny, Ashley Walters, Ashley Madikwe, and so we were in this film together. Yes, for BBC Two. And that was the first piece of work I did after doing a Hollywood film. Your path is your path. And I try hard not to look at other actors and say, yeah, but they did this, but they did that, but look at them over there. But, you know, my path is my path. It's quite easy to do that, to stare at everyone else and go, why aren't I doing that? Why aren't I doing that? It can eat away at you, but your path is your path.
How do you kind of focus when you're in that space and focus on being on the moment? Because I feel like when you're doing stage, I feel like it's easier to be in the moment. I feel like it's easier because you're usually going from a beginning, middle, and end. If you've had the opportunity to be on stage, at least for a good period of time, you're staying in your character, if you like. Even if you have to come off stage and come back on for a scene, I feel like there's more longevity. But I feel like on set, it's very like, chip chop, right, we're going to do this scene now, right, we're going to change it, okay, we're switching this line. So with that pressure and then like all the crew and everything, how do you actually stay in the moment of your character? So I don't mean like how do you have like confidence, but like staying true to what you've built at home. How do you bring that on set? And yeah, that's kind of my question.
You have to tune a lot of the technical stuff out because you're stepping over cables, you're listening to conversations between the prop guy and the lighting guy, and you're doing all of these things. You have to tune that all out. The other thing is that you for a lot of it, you're shooting things out of order. So you might be shooting, toward the emotional scene toward the end, then you go back and shoot the beginning, then you shoot whatever. So in your script, you have to have in your mind mapped out emotionally what your journey is, and stay true to that. And the other bit is that The audience don't know what you don't tell them. They won't know. So you needn't worry about it. There's a actress who I think is brilliant, called Kathy Bates. I don't know if you know who Kathy Bates is. Some of you do. She did a film called Misery, right, which is a Stephen King book. And when she was doing the film, she was doing the film with an actor called James Caan. And Kathy won an Oscar for that film. But most of her scenes, when she's talking to this guy that she's had tied to a bed because she wants him to write, she's a bit crazy. Most of those scenes when they're coming onto her close-ups and she's talking to the guy in the bed, he's not there. Because the actor wasn't there for his turnarounds. He did his bits, and when it came to her, he went, or he had something else to do, or whatever. And I thought to myself, whoa, she won an Oscar for playing a role where for half the film she talked to a pillow and pretended it was a guy. So you have to tune a lot of the stuff on set out, zone out, and go into your own world. And sometimes when things are emotional and I'm doing a scene and it's a little bit emotional, I let everybody do their kind of, okay, we're ready and we're doing that. Okay, can we pick that up? Okay, everybody, let's get over that. And I do all of that and they go, okay, and then I just put my hand up and say, get absolutely ready, and then wait for a nod from me to go. Especially me and Sophie in those scenes in the bedroom during Undercover, or the scenes in the kitchen. We were like, get everything ready, and when you're all ready, then you wait. And they did, and they went quiet. And we gave ourselves like 30 seconds and then went, okay. And he went, action. And then we went into it. Because they can, sometimes the crew and the people around you can destroy the sensitivity of the very thing that they're trying to sensitively capture. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And your ability to push all of their considerations to one side and just focus on your world, yourself, is what helps balance that. Even to the point that there are some actors who a lot of people would hate to work with, but they're very, very, very good at tuning out everybody else's needs and everybody else's voices and purely focusing on what they want. And in a way, on a film, you can see how that works. You know what I mean? It can help them get to a certain place. But for the rest of us,
any tips to that zoning?
Any tips? Take your time.
Zoning.
Take your time. Take your time. And remember where you've just come from and the emotions or the place that your character was at just before walking into that space. Focus on that and take that with you.
Amazing.
Cool.
Thank you.
So can I ask a mini question on top of that, just really quickly? So I remember there was a scene that I did, it was a short film, and I carried everything with me because I had to walk into the room and then continue the scene. And then when I watched it back, it seemed very, so for the commitment that I had, it made sense, but on screen, it seemed actually really extra, especially with the other actor where he was just kind of receiving what I was given. But for the work that I did, it made sense. In theory, in the script, for her background story, it made sense. But on the screen, when I watched it back, it was like, this is a bit much. And not because I was overacting, but it just didn't seem like it matched the scene. So it's like, I'm always trying to work out, like the screens, like, yeah, I'm always trying to work out what I should do, what I shouldn't do, and how to commit, but then not overly look extra on the screen. It's just, yeah. So.
Yeah, the more you feel, the more tension you get, and actually you have to be completely free of tension on a set because a camera will see it. Mm-hmm. You have to be completely relaxed. You can be about to tear your hair out and throw someone down the stairs, but in some way you have to be completely relaxed about it so that you don't keep telling the audience at home, don't keep telling them what they can already see. You don't need to show them because the audience can be this close and in your head. And so you have to do everything as if they're right there. A theater audience is not like that, but a TV or camera audience are. Wow. And relaxation is the key. Relaxation is the key.
Thank you.
Hello, hi.
Um,
I was actually going to ask something earlier, but you've answered it. This is actually going on from the TV and like technical aspects. So with my acting tutor at the moment, he says, oh no, don't bother to do screen acting classes. There's all the technical elements involved, blah, 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 but you can pick that up on the job. Because he says, as long as you're true and you're acting and you're true to the character, then anything you're doing in your face and your body, that will be enough. But I think I'm a bit conscious around my facial expressions and that if I'm too big, and I think I need to just work on that even with my camera phone or something. And basically my question is, did you, early on in your career or when you first came out of drama school, did you work on that, and is that something you're conscious or were conscious of at the time?
When I was at drama school, we didn't do any camera technique, any TV acting, any film acting classes at all. I had no understanding of marks. I had no understanding of microphones, camera lenses, sizes, zooms, pans, nothing. All I learned was how to protect my voice, to do 8 shows a week in the theatre, look after my body so that I could move, dance, time step, whatever, without hurting my back or my legs or anything, which has become more important as I got older, while doing the job. And then when I was on a TV set, I saw another actor ask what lens size they were on. And I thought, oh, that's a clever thing to ask. I could see where the camera was. And I went, when I was doing my shot, I went, sorry, what lens is that? And the cameramen are used to it. And they go, oh, it's a 175. And I went, great. I had no idea what it meant. Now I know what it means, the distance between this and so on. It is about relaxation, and don't practice anything with your camera phone.
Okay.
Don't do that. Practice. There's an exercise we used to do at drama school, and I don't know, David, you might know this, but you sit in a chair facing the person that you're speaking to, and you put your hands on your thighs, and you don't move your head, you don't do anything like that. You simply sit and you simply speak. And there's another actor, another student with you, standing next to you, and you do a scene with this person. If you move a muscle, then the actor standing next to you touches it, and they make you aware that you're moving. And then time after time after time, you start to do this thing where your eyes are like lasers, burning the meaning that is coming out of your mouth into the heart of the person opposite you. And that is all you need.
Wicked.
Nothing else. Because if you try to mean something, when you trying implies effort. And if there's effort, I take away from that you don't believe yourself. So I don't believe it when I'm watching you.
Yeah.
If you don't try to mean it, then I will understand that you absolutely mean it, because it occupies every part of your head. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily your face, but your head.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've done lots of scripts where people go, he screams with a rage and a passion and slams the door on the way out of the room. And then you watch it being done on set and the actors don't do any of that. And yet you watch it on camera and you go, wow, he's angry. Because that's how it works. It's your eyes. It's your eyes.
Okay.
When you lock that person, and you can imagine as you look at them that you are shaping them into what you want them to be with the words that come out of your mouth, and you don't need anything else.
Wow. I'll definitely be doing practicing that with some other actors. And do you just say, are you just freestyling, improvising what you say?
You can improvise, you can use a scene, you can describe something, you can try and tell them what you had for breakfast that morning.
Okay.
You can try and tell them it's good to try and tell them something that contains a lot of adjectives, that requires a lot of explanation, like how brilliant it was, or how hot it was, or how scared you were about something. And just try and convey all of that without moving your arms and legs.
Yeah.
And your face. When I was in Strasbourg doing a tour of the Hamlet, who saw that Hamlet? Somebody mentioned seeing the Hamlet. Anyway, I was in tour doing that play, and we went to we had a green room at a drama school, and we were performing in the theatre next door. And I think this was in Strasbourg. I think it was in Strasbourg. And the green room in the drama school, I was looking for a place to stretch and warm up before I was going to go on stage. It was about an hour and a half before the show. And I walked into this room, I was about to knock on the door, and I looked in and I could see 2 students. And I thought this was brilliant. And 2 students doing a scene. They had music stands in front of them. And on the music stand was the script. And they were far away from each other across the space. So the meaning they had to convey had to cross the space. And they were speaking another language. But with the freedom of their hands and just looking at the words and then looking at each other, they were acting. And I was watching it silently, but it was brilliant because they couldn't reach each other. So every fiber of them, every fiber of their being, their eyes, everything was just trying to get them to understand each other. Now that was a lot of hands and eyes because that's stage acting. But the opposite is true when you're doing film acting. It's exactly the same thing, but you don't have to engage anything.
Yeah.
Just be.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you for that.
But there you go.
What was that? Sorry?
I said I waffled, but there you go.
No, that was a great answer, and I'm going to do that. Yeah, practice that.
Hi, Adrian.
Oh, hello. Hi.
Thank you so much for your time tonight, learning about foods. So you attributed, diversity and playing diverse roles to your, longevity in the acting game. And I was just wondering, how do you stay on top of your game? So how do you continue honing your acting skills? What do you do? Are there classes you do, exercises, techniques? What keeps you, at the top?
There's a book by Uta Hagen called Respect for Acting. It's a book where Uta, who I think is a better contemporary and a better connection to the Stanislavski techniques that people revere so much. She goes through exercises to just work your imagination. And it's all pretense, losing your keys, finding your keys, being in the dark, being in the light, just practice for your imagination. Those things are good. I also think that whatever weaknesses that we all have as actors, there are always going to be things in our lives that we try to steer clear of. So if you don't like the shape of your body as you act, some part of your psyche is going to be tense about that. So if you ever put in something that you don't like, you're going to be quite tense about that. Some of us will feel that, I don't know, we don't like our arms, or we don't like the way we do this, or I don't like the way I sound with that. And so there's going to be a certain tension when you're on screen that tries to cover the fact that you're trying to hide something about yourself. And as I said, on screen, if there's any tension, the audience will see it and they'll just code it as being you don't believe in yourself. So I would always, and I have been and have been trying to for years, I've always tried to work on my weaknesses. Work on the thing that is weakest about me and do it until that thing doesn't become a problem anymore. When I was thinking of being an actor, I had no understanding of Shakespeare and Ibsen and Chekhov and all of that stuff. Just didn't know. Left school, didn't read the plays in school, didn't know what they were, didn't have a clue. Got into drama school, not knowing what Shakespeare was, got taught all the stuff that we got taught, and thank God I got taught it. I left drama school thinking I didn't do a Shakespeare play at drama school. I went to RADA. I did speeches, but I didn't actually, as luck would have it, as it fell out, I didn't do a Shakespeare play. I took apart speeches and amalgamated them into one big speech for a certain sort of improvised performance thing, but I didn't do a full play. So I left drama school thinking, I've got to work on this because I need to understand it. After a few years, it's now fallen out that I look like a Shakespearean classical actor. It was a weakness. and I worked on it. And that's why it looks like it's now a strength. And I would, you know, encourage you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
When there was no acting work around, I thought maybe I should get my voice in gear and start singing and work my singing voice and try and work that and try and, you know, whatever. And I worked on it. And I became applicable for two kinds of different types of work. And that's become a bit of a strength for me.
Brilliant.
But I honestly think just work on your weaknesses.
That's super helpful.
Whatever it is you think that you're not good at, or you might not be able to do, work it.
Mm.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, that's powerful.
How you doing, Adrian? You good?
I'm good.
Lovely. Thank you for this, by the way. I had a question before, but someone asked it, but I have a new one. So I understand you started acting in 1987, like professionally, is it? Am I correct?
1989, I left drama school.
Okay, cool. Now, yeah. So how the game of acting, how's it changed? Obviously, without the obvious answers, how's it changed for you in your experience as a professional actor? How's it changed from then up until now? For someone trying to do what you have done and trying to even better myself, what sort of advice can you impact me on how to sort of navigate and, like, you know, the cues that you can drop? Does that make sense?
The business has changed a lot. There's more digital information. When I left drama school, there were no mobile phones. Can you believe it? We were in an analog age. There were 4 channels on the television. The theatre in its casting and all of that was very narrow-minded. Nelson Mandela was still in prison. Apartheid was still going strong. It was a very, very different world. As the world has opened up and changed, and people have more stories to tell, there are more screens to fill, the more airtime to be had. The job of the actor is still the same. It's still the same, and therefore the technical requirements of what an actor does and what an actor is still the same. I would never be content to play an aspect of myself. I want to play bits of myself that I don't even know are there, that I don't even know exist yet. That's what I want to play. That's what I want to muck around with. With more screen time and so on, you can see actors that are learning how to act by watching other people act on screen. And so they're in this vacuous bubble where they start to re-employ techniques they've already seen, and everyone starts to look and sound the same and do the same thing with the same lines. You can get it when you watch a lot of American TV shows, network TV shows. Everyone seems to inflect in the same way all the time, and it's sort of really annoying. Watch documentaries. Watch real people talk about real things that matter to them in real time in front of a camera, and learn your acting there, I think. As for anything else, the way to get into the game, I suppose, there's many more ways, you know, online. It's much easier now to film your own things and get them seen by people. I mean, you can do it on your phone and with your computer, and you can upload things onto the internet and bypass all sorts of people. You couldn't do that when I'd left drama school. But no matter how many ways you can get people to look at you via your phone or via the computer, and you can say, look at me, and you can get a space and you can get people to look at you, what you're going to do when they look, that is all based on your integrity and your ability and how far you've stretched yourself when you had the chance. So I suppose the job is the same. It's just the access is very different. Thank God.
And judging by your reaction, you think that's a good thing? Yeah.
Judging by
your reactions, that's a good thing in your opinion?
The access.
Yeah.
It's much, 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 much better than it was. Trust me. Much. Tough now. Worse then. I used to watch Royal Variety performances where comedians would get up on screen in front of the Queen and all that and tell jokes about, oh, my mate, and doing, you know, this accent and that Jamaican accent and all that, people blacking up and doing all sorts of things. And everybody was laughing and it was really funny. And you were sat there, I was sat there thinking, I've got a job to do. It might be slightly big-headed of me and therefore slightly big-headed of us. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to tell stories, if you're going to stand up on screen and tell what it is to be who you are, the best way to do it is to tell stories that that play characters where your gender doesn't matter, your sexuality doesn't matter, your race doesn't matter, your whatever. Those things are a given. How deeply you can connect yourself to what your character is going through is the most important thing, I think. Take everything else for granted. People will see everything else. But just how honest you can be to what that human being is going through is the most important thing.
Hey, Adrian. I'm a theatre director, so I'm within the theatre world. And also wanted to say I saw your performance in Red Velvet because Kiln Theatre is the closest one to me. But yeah, loved it. I'm gonna be a bit cheeky. I have 3 quick questions. My first question was, as you've sort of worked on theatre and in film, as an actor, what have you, like, I guess for me it's, which one do you prefer and why, if that makes sense? So what have been the differences you've explored? Yeah, so big question, but yeah.
I'll try and be quick with it. I don't prefer either one over the other.
Okay.
Theatre stretches me more.
Yeah.
I've been stretched in theatre much more. The great thing about doing film or TV is that it's frozen.
Mm.
So however hard I work or however proud I am of the work, was mentioned before with Undercover, some of the scenes I got to do with Sophie, I really enjoyed those scenes. I thought I haven't got the chance to do this on screen before ever, but it's kind of been frozen, so at least it's still there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the other things I've done in the theatre, it's gone, it's lost.
Yeah.
So I do like to jump between 2 mediums. I don't prefer one over the other, but they both have their pluses and their weaknesses. Theatre makes me a stronger and better actor with my sort of my equipment, if you like. But
Yeah.
work is done, it's gone. That last night, it's like, whew, that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas on screen, it's been frozen for a bit.
Okay. And as a director yourself as well, directing short films, I was going to say, because I guess as a theatre director, I know that I was going to ask if it's a similar sort of techniques, the relationship as a director and your actor in a short film, is it similar to how directors sort of work within theatre? So like how we've got Stanislavski techniques and Meisner techniques. I just imagine for a film, the relationship is not as intimate, I guess, if that makes sense, or have you found it? Yeah.
In a theatre rehearsal, the actors all kind of agree to work in the same way, kind of, because they're all in the same room for 3 or 4 weeks, and you can coax the performance out of people. Your job as a director is to try and get the actor to not get in the actor's way.
Yeah.
So when you stop believing what they're doing, that's when they need some words from you. When you need to encourage them to think about something else or something else or something else, right? So you can encourage that out of them in the theatre rehearsal room. On a set, the actors all work in different ways. They have very, very different ways of getting to what they want to get to. And your job is to, as quickly as possible, learn how to speak to each person in exactly the right way. So you feel like when you're in a film set, you've got to like drop a nugget.
Yeah.
You've only got time to drop like 2 nuggets and that's it. And it's frozen. If somebody does something terrible, you're thinking to yourself, I've got to have a nugget. I've got to say, yes, it's wonderful, but what about the moon?
Yeah.
And suddenly something amazing. So it's harder, but you can still rehearse before you shoot, which always helps. And start with the big, most difficult things first. With actors, let them know what you're kind of aiming for, where you're aiming for with the film, what tone you're aiming for. And if you talk about that 2 weeks before you start shooting the short film, just drop it in there. And if they're people who deserve being cast, as I'm sure they will be, that will grow in them, and they'll turn up on the day of shooting and it will be there, it will manifest.
Okay, right. And my last question was just, I guess as a creative or as an actor, what has been sort of your drive to keep you going? Because as you know, it is an industry where you have to either keep meeting people and stay strong yourself. But yeah, what sort of kept you going?
This is going to sound really weird, right? But what's kept me going and what's kept me thinking, okay, there's more work to do, is times like these. I was hoping to have something chirpy to say, but that's it. There's more work to do. Because actually, all of you, you know, I haven't seen you perform. I don't know what it's like at Drama School, David. I don't know how things are going, Ade, but you are all unique, and you all have something unique to say, something unique to bring, and something unique to give. And the moment you stop concentrating on some other actor or actress who you think, oh, I want to be like them, or I want to be like that, or I want to do performers like that, there's a path or a way and a persona that you have that no one else can be like. And we need it. So leave drama school, do your first 2 or 3 years of work, and then do something fantastic. Because we all need to see it, all of us. So yeah, times like this keep me going.
Rico sent a message, quite a good one actually. It says, didn't the state of the industry scare you back then? What made you want to continue being an actor and push through, given the climate at that time? Probably even before you went to drama school as well, I guess, and even after.
The thing that made me keep going was, I mean, a big spoonful of stupidness. Also, a bit of ego, a teenager's ego, kept me going, and also, if not me, who? You know, not saying I'm special or anything, but there's a part of me that thinks, well, I haven't really got the right to give up, because there's things that I want to do, things I have to say that I don't know who. When I looked around, I didn't know who else was going to say. When I looked around at my school, there were 5 black kids in my school. So this did come from a consideration of race for me, because I looked around and went, well, I can do this, and I love doing this, and I'm not going to let you, that wall, take it away from me. I deserve the right to do this as much as anybody else. So I just kept going.
Wow.
So I wanted to talk about drama schools and how you have benefited from going to a drama school, and how much do you think you've been at an advantage? So I'm currently at university studying theatre studies, and like when I was applying, I was like, oh, should I go to drama school? Should I go to uni? So now I'm wondering, would I be at a disadvantage just because I didn't go to a drama school? And yeah, that's my question.
There are actors who went to drama school who are working alongside actors who didn't go to drama school every day. There are actors, the people who went to drama school in my year, one guy now is running the National Theatre. He's director of the National Theatre, Rufus Norris. And he was in, when we got to the final year at drama school and we did our pieces together, you know, your pieces that you do for the agent, he and I did our piece together. And so he's now doing that. There was a Shakespeare play that I did where the guy who played opposite me, and we had such great comic timing working off each other. He didn't go to drama school. He studied at a university. So it's just down to who you are. When I got to drama school, I thought I was disadvantaged because I hadn't been to university and I hadn't done the reading and the structure and the English and the understanding of plays that all these other guys had. And when I left RADA and I went off and I worked with someone 5 years after I left who felt he was disadvantaged having gone to university because he hadn't been to drama school and learned all that stuff about the body and the voice and that he'd learned on the job. we both learned on the job in our own ways. It's just the kind of work you put yourself under and the kind of discipline you have. Drama school won't give you discipline. Drama school won't give you drive. You have to get that yourself. And if you get it while doing a university course, then fine. If you get it by doing an independent night school drama course, then fine. If you get it from, I don't know, starting off in a fringe venue, writing and directing your own plays because you want to, then fine. But however you do it, your work ethic has to be honed, disciplined, and hardworking. I think everybody would agree with that. So wherever that comes from, it's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. I have two questions, but I'm going to ask one because I know that we're running out of time. I'm just interested in what you do when you get a script. What's the thing that you do, and do you have any useful tips? Obviously, you have to read it, but apart from that, what would you say is the best thing, and how to approach the script and your character? And also, do you, because acting is I feel like it's all about listening at the other person. So do you do as the work that you do on your character, is it as thorough? The work that you do on other characters, is it as thorough as you do on your character? Yeah.
I when I read it, get a script, I read it, get the story. I read it again, and I write down everything my character says about myself, and I write down everything that the other characters say about me. And I put it in their little pockets. So, this character, what does he say about me? This character, what does she say? And you end up with a list of adjectives and lines and everything like that. And the final thing I do, which sounds weird, but I read the script as if my character wasn't there. And you know that your character says lines, and you read those lines in with everything, but you read imagining that your character wasn't present in the scene. And as you go through, as you get toward the end of the play, you realize that there are elements missing. It might be empathy is missing. It might be a sense of comedy is missing. It might be a sense of joy is missing. What happens to the play if your character isn't there? And so you have a list then of, well, you have your sort of your task for work, really. That's what your task is. You look at the adjectives that all the other characters say about you, you look at what you say about yourself, and you look at what the play misses if that character isn't there, and you go, right, that is what you have to bring. Because you have to make all of those things true and bring them to the play. Find those things within yourself and bring them to the play. And
Thank you.
That's kind of what I do with the script. There's also a weird thing, one little thing that I'd love to say to you, but also via you to everybody, is that character, people say a lot of things about character. My character wouldn't do this, my character wouldn't do, and so on. And actually your character can do anything. And character is something that is made up in the eyes of the audience. All of us have no character. We don't have a character. We just go through our day. Character is made up by those who are close to us reporting back on us. So, like when I was doing Hamlet, the first scene, you play that scene as fully as possible, with a complete disregard for what's supposed to happen next, because I can't see the future. So you play that scene as fully as possible. The next scene, play that scene as fully as possible, almost as if there was a complete disregard for what you just did before. You can't say, well, I can't be angry with this person so much because 2 scenes earlier I was in love with this person. So I have to be in love with them while I'm angry with them, and make sure both things connect. And no, you don't. Let that connection take place in the mind of the audience. Because then, rather than seeing you consciously link the scenes together and you play something that looks like this, then what they see is they see a human being going like that in front of their eyes. And by the time they get to the end, they have to assimilate all of that. And that's your character. But it's a character without your conscious control. because you've got the same face, same voice, same costume, same mannerisms, same accent or whatever. So you can play one scene as if it's completely has nothing to do with something, and let the audience go, what? It's always much more interesting. And it's also what we do as well. I'm sure there are moments in our lives where we go, I was like this with my partner or my parent or my guardian or whatever. And then 2 weeks later, you were like this with them. The two things are the same person. But if you saw it written down, you wouldn't think it. So let the audience see those juxtapositions and those changes, and then they let them find out what your character is while they're on their way home.
Wow.
I would say.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
yeah.
A quick question. So mine is, do you have like any acting books you would recommend?
Yeah, one was the Uta Hagen Respect for Acting. Okay. And the other one is, well, there's two actually. One is like a sort of drama school workbook, and it's by Bridget Panet. Bridget with a D on the end, and Panet, Panet. And I forget what that book is called. I think it's called For the Actor, but it's Bridget Panet. And I worked with her as a director, and she just breaks stuff down into its very, very, very basic. I mean, you might read it and just think, this is like, I know this stuff. But then she always says something that's really useful. So Uta Hagen, Respect for Acting, Bridget Panet's book. And then the last one I would recommend is Declan Donnellan's book, The Actor and the Target.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Declan's a great director to work for. And working with him was like a 4th year of drama school.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what other books would you recommend? Because, like, with acting, it's not that you just work on that. You have to sort of be in relation to, like, the world and, like, so much other stuff other than just acting. So, like, what books would you recommend for perhaps, like, growing your knowledge, I guess? I don't know. But, yeah.
I tend to veer toward... I like watching documentaries, actually. I tend to veer toward factual, because I think that we get employed to play people.
Mm-hmm.
And people are tall, small, they're fat, they're slim, they're conventionally good looking, conventionally not, they're all sorts. And I think sometimes when we look at the world around us and we look at actors and we look at film and we look at theatre, we can kind of get trapped into thinking that we're only designed to play one type of person and force ourselves into that. And then you watch documentary and you see some amazing, weird, twisted people who have no idea how strange they are. And I like watching that. It gives me confidence for what I want to do on stage. So yeah, in that sense, I'm not a big reader of fiction and things like that, but I do like to watch stuff.
Thank you.